My name is Xavier, you're watching droneXfactor, and today's the continuation of the Mavic 3 Classic versus the Autel Lite Plus. Now, we're not going to talk price and specs and 1-inch sensor and 4/3 sensor. All of that I did in last week's video. Check out the card up here. Go check that video out first. Bring yourself up to speed so you know what this has that this doesn't, and this has that this doesn't. So we're going to start off with video at night. Topic number 1 is 5.1 or 5.4K, 5.1K for this and 5.4K for this because this has a higher resolution than this. Auto everything, auto white balance, auto ISO, auto shutter, auto aperture, everything. Just bone stock auto. I gave the camera complete control. Let's go take a look at the results, starting with the Mavic 3, right? And this is what it looks like. Now, I was surprised. Yeah, at the amount of green that's on your screen. Let's jump over to the Lite Plus here and go to 5.4K zero exposure. Now, straight out of camera, the 5.4K is definitely roasting the Mavic 3. It just looks downright beautiful, and it's a higher resolution, even though it's a smaller sensor. So yeah, and that's because Autel adds their noise reduction to the 5.4K, right? Unlike the Mavic. So if you're like me, a 5.4K shooter, then the Lite Plus is the way to go. But for those of you who buy this to get the image straight out of the camera, just be aware of what you're getting, even with this big sensor at 5.1K. Generally, a bigger sensor will get you better quality. And I know what you're probably thinking. It doesn't look like that now, but stick a pin. It's about to get a little better because DJI does apply their noise reduction in the second point, which is 4K, auto everything, auto white balance, auto shutter, auto aperture, everything. Just let the camera decide everything for itself, right? Auto in 4K. And then you'll be like, whoa, what happened with it? The Mavic 3 Classic just came to life. Where's all the noise? Well, it's gone because they do have the onboard noise reduction and correction and all of that built into this drone when you shoot at 4K. So if you're going to shoot at night and you're not going to edit on your computer, wow, I think this 4K looks damn good coming out of there. Another thing I want to mention is the Hasselblad colors. You'll see it in comparison to the Autel here. The reds just pop, the greens just pop, the blues just pop. Everything just pops on this Mavic 3 Classic. Let's go over to Lite Plus and we'll compare the 4K auto everything. Now, the Lite Plus obviously does a phenomenal job as well in 4K. They're not going to apply noise reduction in 5K and not do it in 4K. I think the noise reduction is a lot heavier on the 4K, and I think the image is a lot darker. They don't expose as much as the DJI does, and that's probably why you don't have as much color bleed. I'm not seeing much colors bleeding in here, but then again, I'm not seeing those beautiful Hasselblad colors. If you look at this, this looks like a great image, beautiful image, but where's the Hasselblad-y feel and look, right? The color science, right? This has Autel's color science, and I think this looks good. It looks more natural, but if you compare that to the DJI just has the color science a little bit better. Another thing that you'll notice with the DJI is that I have more of the building here, and I have more in this building over here. On top, the rooftop, I can see way beyond almost to the edge of this rooftop. Whereas if I go to the Autel, I can't see the whole rooftop over here. You see, the whole rooftop is not visible, and that's because the Mavic 3 has a wider field of view. So if you like that wider field of view, then yes, the Mavic 3 just captures more. If you want a more focused, a little bit more narrow, then the Autel has that for you. And to me, the noise reduction is just a lot better on the Autel, but I do prefer the DJI Hasselblad colors, right? You tell me what you think in the comment section below, because all this stuff is subjective. Also, you look in the corners of the Mavic over here, it just doesn't have as much detail. I can see the end here, the image, see where my arrow is, it's just washed out, literally just washed out. And sometimes that can be the disadvantage of a wider lens. A wider lens is nice to have, but sometimes you get distortion with that. and it looks like there is some distortion at the edge of this frame. This side a little bit at the corner here at the bottom, and I used to see that with the Air 2S as well. I mean, not bad. You still have some details. You can see the vehicles on the roof and stuff. It's a nice wider view. Crop in a little bit and you'll get rid of that distortion. It's not that big of a deal. But if you look at the corners of the Evo here, look at the building. Look at the vehicles. They're much cleaner. They're much clearer. They're much easier to recognize. Hey, there are vehicles on top of this building. Even a red one over here. And if you look at the edge here, it doesn't look damaged and distorted. It's clean from end to end. That's a sign of quality glass. Not only quality glass, but you get that when you have a narrower field of view. So both drones top out at 4K in night mode. This is a new feature that DJI just added to the Classic, and they updated it for the original Mavic 3 as well, if you have that. This image now begins to look a lot like the Autel, but with the Hasselblad colors. So they really applied the noise reduction, basically the same way Autel applies it straight out of camera. Not only that, they cropped the image. If you look at the original image, it was wider than this, right? So it has pulled the image in. So a lot of that distortion that you would see at the edges of the image, it's gone. And in my opinion, this looks like the Autel in standard color profile, normally straight out of camera, which you'd get from Autel, but with the Hasselblad colors. So this night mode is fabulous, and I highly recommend it if you're filming anything at night. Now I'll tell you this. In my review for the Autel Lite Plus, if you haven't seen that video, check the link up here. Go check it out. I talk about everything from A to C, the good, the bad, about that drone. And one of the things that I really didn't like about this drone was the night mode. They do a great job in terms of nice, clean image. Look at it, right? No noise or anything. But the crop is just too much. They literally cropped in so much on that image. So let's look at it. They basically sliced the image down here, cropped in that much. As a matter of fact, they probably cropped in this much. Like literally, look at that. And not only that, they cropped in this much. Like half this building is gone. So the crop on that is just too much. Way too much for me. Whereas DJI just cropped out a tiny bit. So when it comes to the night mode, I give DJI the win. However, I would say DJI's night mode is comparable to the standard mode on the Autel Lite. Leave your comments below and let me know what you think. But I think if you own this, just shoot in standard. And if you own this, definitely shoot in the night mode. Not only do you have the night mode on both drones, but you have manual control if you want to take it a step further. And I'll tell you that if DJI did not release the night mode on this drone, then it would have been game over for this, because this was definitely taking it. For this little guy and this little sensor, I'm pretty impressed, right? I'm now thinking about, did I spend my money wisely? But let's keep going. Let's move on to photos. So I just did 0 exposure, auto everything, white balance, aperture, everything. Let the algorithm decide what it wants to do. But this is what the Mavic 3 gave me. Really nice photo. Looks good straight out of camera. A little bit yellowy, but still looks good. Not bad. A nice clean shot straight out of camera. Now let's look at the Autel photos. Straight out of camera. We got both of them side by side. You can see that the Autel sky is just darker. It's more true to what you see. Here has a little bit of red and a little bit of orange and a little bit of red. It's almost like red tones going all the way up in the sky, where over here you have green tones. If you look at the road, this road is just clean and crisp and sharp. I mean, look at this. This image was blurry. You could see it's blurry here, but this one was also blurry too, right? But this is just the algorithm that each camera decided to shoot it in auto. I didn't set it up to that, right? Here you have just this looks a little bit blurry. It just doesn't look as sharp to me. So you tell me what you think in the comment section. But let's just zoom in here. Let's just go 1, 2, 3 times. And let's move over here to the right. And then let's go to the Autel and go 1, 2, 3 times. And go over to the corner here. Look at the Autel. Look at the wall over here. This is starting to get soft and mushy. The truck is soft. Look at the light here versus the light here. The light's a little bit stronger. The highlights are a little brighter here. Look at the building here. Just looks a little bit cleaner. Look back here. Right, this building starting to mush out, starting to get real soft. You could see the grain all in the back here. Here is still putting it together. The image is just a little softer with the DJI over here. It's starting to mush up a little bit. With the Autel, it's just holding up a lot better. Look at the road on the 3x versus over here. Look at the 3x. You could see, look at the road, it just looks soft. Look all here, soft, soft. Right? Everything just looks, the image just looks a lot softer. But if you look on this corner here, on the image or the part of the picture that's far away between the buildings over here, I think the DJI is doing a better job further away. It still looks soft, but just looks a lot more visible. I think the Autel with its algorithm is just destroying the highlights. Light's just too much over here, whereas the DJI is not as bright. So each algorithm does have its flaws. As you can see here, look, the highlights, it's blown out. You can't even make out the wording or the writing. Whereas here, yes, it's still blown out, but at least you can make out that this says Altice in it, right? So I would say the way to go would definitely be manual. You go to the camera and you shoot in manual. DJI manual, and this is edited. So I edited both photos. Look at this. Now the Autel looks super bright, and that's because, well, I didn't have the exposure meter to guide me. And then I ran the shutter a little too long. So it looks great on a long exposure, but if you want to compare sharpness and stuff, you don't want to go with a long exposure image. It's not going to be that sharp. So yeah, I misjudged it. I overexposed this image, but it still doesn't look bad. The sky, the ground, everything is visible. Like, I'm surprised I got this much out of that 1-inch sensor. It's all sitting in there. What was dark and dark is now brought to life. The DJI, I love the Hasselblad colors. I got the exposure a lot better here. It's not as long, still starting to stretch a little long, but I was able to get all the ground, all the terrain, everything just beautiful. Tons of detail there. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to zoom in with the Autel. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see, we got the building at the back here on the Autel. Compare that to the DJI up. There you go. DJI is looking a lot better on the zoom in. Look at that. Right? Again, the image is overexposed here on the Autel. That was definitely my bad on my part, but the DJI is definitely holding up nice compared to the Autel over here. On the ground, nice details and everything. Actually, the ground is looking okay. Over here, the dark area is going to start to show grain, but the light areas will look better, whereas over here, light areas will not look as better. I think both drones yield a very, very comparable image. I will say the DJI having the bigger sensor is a little bit easier to edit, because I just feel like you have a little bit more push and a little bit more pull, because you just have a little bit more in that image. But overall, I like the DJI colors, the Hasselblad. I like the video more on the Autel than I do with the DJI. So if I were shooting videos primarily, I think I would grab the Autel. If I'm shooting photos primarily, I'm more comfortable going with the DJI. I'm more of a video guy, so I'm familiar. I don't really need the exposure meter for video as I do with photos. Photos, I'm more of a casual photographer. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Which one do you prefer? Do you prefer the Mavic 3 Classic for photos or videos, or both? I think there isn't much of a difference. And unless you are a real professional, you might not be able to notice the difference much on both of these drones, and that's because technology has come such a far way. You look at a drone like even the Mini 3, what they're able to do with the software on board the drones and clean it up and pass it through not once but twice. So next video will be about daytime shots, cropping in, zooming in, doing some pixel peeping and checking the resolution and just overall quality and colors like we did in the night. So make sure you hit subscribe, make sure you stay tuned, hit the bell so you can get notified when that video comes out, and other videos too. Give this video a huge thumbs up, and I will, well, catch you guys whenever I can. Make sure you become a Patreon, guys. Big benefits to Patreon. Get direct access to me. Any questions, I'm right here on Patreon. Support this channel, and there's benefits. Last Mini 2 went all the way to the UK.